This episode brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever find yourself playing the budgeting game? Shifting a little money here, a little there, and hoping it all works out? Well, with the Name Your Price tool from Progressive, you can get a better budgeter and potentially lower your insurance bill too. You tell Progressive what you want to pay for car insurance, and they'll help find you options within your budget. Try it today at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law. Not available in all states.
Welcome to Heaving Bosoms, the podcast where two best friends recap romance novels while reveling in Viking times and gloating about how wise they are.
Gonna love what we love, do it out loud. Stack our shelves with the clinches out. Shout it from the rooftop, can you hear the sound? Yeah. Live your best life, love it out loud. Love it out loud.
Hi, gorgeous listener. Welcome. If this is your first episode, I'm Melody, and every week my long-distance best friend Sabrina and I recap romance novels from a feminist, comedic, sex-positive, and true fan perspective. You'll get the plot of the book, and you'll get tangents along the way. If you want more of us, we've got bonus content and so much more over on Patreon and on our Apple subscription. This week, Sabrina and I are doing a reading roundup. We'll tell you all about the books we're enjoying outside of the podcast reading list. That's this Friday on Patreon and our Apple sub. Spoiler alert, there might be a lot of alien, monster, and fluffy contemporary romance. And mark your calendars for July 18th at 8 p.m. Eastern. That's a Friday, and it's our next live watch party. We love our Patreon community, and I've got some awesome people to shout out. Welcome and thank you from the bottom of our hearts, Art Gnome, Liz M, Vanessa K, Stephanie L, Rebecca P, and Aaron. This week, Sabrina and I are heading to Viking times with one of our favorite authors. It was also the first time in a few weeks that we sat down and recorded together, so the whole thing honestly is a little extra. Here's part one of our recap of The Bone King and the Starling by Elizabeth Stevens. Well, Sabrina, it would seem I was a little angrier than I originally thought.
Okay, tell okay. By the way, behind the scenes context, listener, Mel has already stated to me, this is not the emotion that she is intending to talk about, or
That's
it's not
the one
that she's actually feeling.
And I did that because I know you would poop your pants if I started an episode that way, and you didn't know.
And I didn't know. I was literally about to say, luckily, Mel and I have known each other long enough, and we love each other.
That's right.
Quite a bit. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Also, it would seem I was a little more thorough than I originally thought when we were going to record this book. Because have I read it 4 or 5 times? Who knows? You know what I mean? Who knows?
4 or 5 means 5.
It's tough to really pin it down. And my favorite thing that was said in the entire book, and Elizabeth Stevens does it 3 fucking times, it's perfect. And it's the hero being an absolute unhinged psychopath and then being like, it would seem I was a little angrier than I originally thought.
Yeah, he does. Kalai does do that quite a couple
King
of times.
Kalai. Oh my God. He can get it. I'll tell you that much.
Okay, this book hit so many. Speaking of
Also,
words,
hold on. No, I have a bone to pick with you, and I am mad now.
is it a
too.
bone king
Maybe.
to Pip?
Yeah. Yeah,
a
I
bone
can
king
bone
to
your
pick
I
with
can
me?
pick your bone king. Yeah. Hey, remember how I told you no less than 2 or 3 times that you should read this book just for therapy, even if we're
Okay.
postponing the recording for 2 weeks because things are a nightmare in your world?
Okay,
Remember
listener-
that? Do you remember when I was so wise, like at your face, directly at your face, and you were just like, turns out the thing I really want to do today is totally ignore one of my best friends. There's a really wise best friend. I'm not going to take her advice at all, Sabrina said, over there.
That's
I was like,
actually
Sabrina,
word.
Even
Hey, listener,
if...
that's a quote.
It's true. Yeah, I
That's
know.
a quote.
I know. We had to...
Okay,
We had to
listener-
postpone this recording, and I was like, read it anyway. You'll feel so much better.
Listener-
Bitch didn't.
For context, this recording has been on the docket. It was going to be like our happy in between recording because like we were just getting back into regular recording and then I moved and it's been a nightmare to get everything figured out. And so it's just like we just kept pushing, and then finally it was like, if we don't record, we don't have an episode. And it was like, okay, let's get her done. And the entire time, Melody was like, hey
man, you'll like it.
You'll
just
love
for you.
this book.
You're just gonna really like it. It would make you feel super good.
Melody has never not been right.
Thank you.
About
Thank you so much.
me loving a book. Okay.
Interesting. She was feeling her oats.
What actually? What part?
Do you feel oats? That can't be right. I don't think you feel oats.
I didn't even hear what you said. I was too busy trying to figure out how to defend myself.
Bah, you can't. It's indefensible. No, I'm sorry. You're not going to look Elizabeth Stevens straight in her earballs and try to justify not reading her book when I tell you to. You're not going to do that to Elizabeth Stevens. She's a favorite of ours, both of ours.
I both will and will not, because at the same time, I had not only you and the upcoming episode that is now out for A Soul to Keep screaming in my ear about Monster Dick.
Fine, sure.
At the same time, I had 2 other separate friends who had come across Monster Dick series and were screaming about it. And I read it over 2 years ago. And so it's basically a brand new series to me. Okay. And I was like, Monster Penis. It's fine. I'm here. We're here.
You made choices.
I did make choices. They were not necessarily the most
wise. You didn't go with your wisest friend. You didn't listen to your wisest one. Question mark? Big old question mark on that one.
Are you? You're my wisest friend.
Yeah.
Is that what we're?
Everybody else can sit the fuck down, Sabrina. Okay. They know. Everybody knows I'm your wisest friend. Please, come on.
Yeah?
Yeah. Listeners on my side on this one.
Yeah.
No, I think maybe I am feeling my oats. I think you can feel oats. Oh, but you can also sow oats, I think.
Well, so
and those are 2 different things.
Too, but sowing oats is sowing your
like,
wild oats.
Fuck
yeah, we gotta go seed some shit.
It's like smoking some weeds when you're young or
anyway,
whatever.
Listener, today we are here, Melody and I, for one of our HB favorite authors, Elizabeth Stevens. There are Patreons about her series. There are
regular episodes,
public episodes about her series.
Yeah,
we just love it. We had Elizabeth Stevens as an author hang one time. Yeah. Elizabeth Stevens is just on our collective list as favorite author. And you know what? Sometimes Melody and I have a lot going on.
It's true.
We just have to make a decision for us.
Yeah, sometimes we need to read a book we know is gonna just give us what we need.
Elizabeth Stevens never misses.
She always delivers.
I walked into this, when I brought this to Melody, I didn't even know what it was about. In fact, I was wrong. Neither. I was wrong until I picked the book up and was about 50% through and went, oh, there's no magic. Oh, okay.
I was wondering if it was paranormal too. Yeah, it's not. It's just Viking times.
It's Viking time.
Oh, can I read you the dedication?
Yes.
Can I read it to you? Because it's the best thing that I've ever heard in my life.
You know the dedication. Do you normally
well,
get those in an earball?
No, but I did this time, and also I got the book too, the eyeball book.
You eyeball read the book and earball read the book?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's fine. Everything's great over here. I'm not coping with the world in very specific ways. Here's the dedication.
Acknowledge the world, Melody.
No, the world can't. I can't. I need to compartmentalize. Is what I have to do.
That's a word for it. Continue.
Okay, here's the dedication. To the black girls still in love with Ragnar Lothbrok and Eric Northman, I see you and I raise you, King Kalai of Wrath. Elizabeth Stevens.
I just realized I just remembered that I meant to Google who those people were.
Oh my God. Eric Northman is the hottest vampire in the True Blood series.
Okay.
Although in the books, he's always wearing mesh tops, which is fine. You know what I mean?
Because he's so hot that he needs the airflow, Melody. Okay?
Exactly. No, totally. It's just like a very specific look. You know what I mean?
I mean,
anyway,
it's a choice objectively.
You might say that, yeah. And then Ragnar Lothbrok was the first lead of Vikings, the history show Vikings. All caps Vikings.
This really explains why I had no idea who you were talking. Okay.
Oh, she was speaking directly to me, although I'm not black. You know what I mean? Ooh, this dedication.
Yeah, I had no idea. I had no idea.
And she did. And she fucking did.
Yeah.
Because here's the deal. Ragnar Lothbrok and Eric Northman both, like, when they love hard, but boy, will they ruthlessly defend whatever they love.
Okay,
you know what I mean?
This book definitely hit me in, like, my id bits where, like, you do you. I do me, and we will meet in the middle in a way that satisfies us both and makes us both happy. Let's just jump in, actually.
Okay.
Frankly, like, we can't even. So we open up, and again, I had no idea what was happening until like, I mean, I did know what was happening, but I was like, isn't there magic or something? Or like something? like I was just waiting for it, and then no, and the answer is no. This is straight Viking times. I think this is you and my first Viking times together.
Our first Viking, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And we
what a way to usher the era in. You know what I mean?
No kidding. What?
Yeah.
Win across the board, because we open up with Starling and, like, okay, so
no, we do not open up with Starling. That's not true at all. Fuck that and fuck you.
Oh, you're right.
We open up with King Kalai of Wrath doing an undercover mission, and I won't ignore that, okay? He's multifaceted.
Even before multifaceted is that's a word choice. I don't know that he's multifaceted. We'll see.
Look, sociopaths can be multifaceted too.
I said, you're the only one who keeps calling him a sociopath.
Actually, the last time I called him a psychopath.
Oh, okay. Some kind of path.
Yeah.
Okay.
I do know that they're different, listener, just FYI. I do know I know the difference in, like, the real world.
Disclaimer.
Yeah.
Okay, before we do jump in, though, I do want to make super note, like, good call on Elizabeth Stevens' part. There is trigger warnings at the front of this book, and this book is like, there's a non-con in this book, and a black woman in the, what's it called? A thrall? She's a thrall in this Viking village.
Which is a Viking slave.
Yes. And so just warnings, you know, and violence.
Yeah.
Gore. Boy, lots of gore.
Ooh, we love a gore, and it's in here. It's splattered all over the place.
It's a bloody book, man. Oh, some of the things are so graphically described.
Oh my God. This has one of the scariest lines that I've ever read in a book, period, the end.
Okay, spoiler it for us.
That thing that Tori says at the end, that is one of the scariest statements that a character has ever said
the trunk,
into my...
the chest thing, special little... Yeah. Ooh. Yeah. Oh, also, like, threats of sexual slavery?
So many.
Guess?
Yeah, and like sexual assault and stuff.
Yeah, just like blanket, anything sexual, really.
It's not great.
Anything sexual that you could have a problem with, just blanket trigger on that or content warning on that.
Look,
But also
I
at the
kind of
same time,
disagreed.
I don't hate it.
No, okay, wait. I think I disagreed. And like,
With
look,
which part?
I think I
Was it
know
non-con?
I think I know the argument for non-con, but like, I think I respectfully disagree. I don't know. I
can
could
see
say
that.
coercive consent. You know what I mean? Coercive con.
I mean,
co-con.
Coercive con by definition is non-con. Mel,
Shut up. Shut up. It's, there are nuances is all I'm saying. King Kelly has to live in the nuances.
Yeah. It's very clear the way that this world works. Like from get-go, it's very obvious the way this world works.
This episode brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever find yourself playing the budgeting game? Shifting a little money here, a little there, and hoping it all works out? Well, with the Name Your Price tool from Progressive, you can get a better budgeter and potentially lower your insurance bill too. You tell Progressive what you want to pay for car insurance, and they'll help find you options within your budget. Try it today at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law. Not available in all states.
All right, steak lovers, this one's for you. You know that moment when you slice into a perfectly cooked, melt-in-your-mouth steak? Pure magic. And that's exactly what Heartland Steak Company delivers. Hand-cut, Midwest-raised, premium meat, straight to your door, because you deserve the best. Growing up in Kansas with a butcher for a stepfather, I learned what real quality beef looks like. When Heartland Steak Company sent me their steaks for my honest opinion, let me tell you, they absolutely delivered. They know their craft, and it showed in every single bite. Build your perfect steak box or grab a grill-ready bundle. Either way, you're getting top-tier flavor. And here's the best part. $25 off any order of $175 or more. Just use promo code WOMEN at checkout. So go ahead, treat yourself. Head to heartlandsteakco.com, load up your cart, and don't forget, promo code WOMEN gets you that $25 off.
So we open up, Mel is correct, we open up with King Kalai.
Wisest friend.
He's
you know.
Wisest, most knowledgeable.
So many beautifulnesses over here. Me too.
Oh,
I miss you too.
And I've missed your humbleness.
Thank you.
And I've
missed the way you see me, Sabrina. You just see me.
I've missed your empathy.
Yeah.
I've missed your
my generosity of spirit.
I've missed the way you see the world in a way that not everybody is a side character, and you're you're the main character. You're so lovely to me.
Thank you.
I love you. It's like
so
like
much.
looking out over a vast field of beautiful wildflowers in full bloom, Melody.
Oh my gosh, I completely agree with you, Sabrina. Wow, here.
That you are the vast field of wildflowers in full bloom.
I mean, that's what I heard you say out loud. So
and you agree? Okay.
I'm affirming you, Sabrina. I am affirming you right now, okay?
Oh, your intense, the ride or die-ness, the healthy ride or die-ness of
healthy
you.
ride or die over here.
Okay, anyway, we
Okay, so King Kalai is doing an undercover mission right now because he's going into this village and it's like a podunk mess is what it is. And so he's like trying to get the lay of the land so that he knows, how to act and what he needs to look out for when he rides into this village tomorrow to do his quote unquote games, which is a thing that he does annually in all of Wrath. So when he gets there, he's like wearing a cloak because he doesn't want anybody to know that the literal king is here.
Also, because is there anything sexier than a big fucking violent Viking in a cloak?
Yeah. No, I hear you.
Under dark of night.
Yeah. So he's like looking around. There's like a bunch of drunk people. And he's like, I think maybe the chief of this village was in that group of drunkards. That's interesting. And then he sees this guy verbally assaulting a thrall. And I think she's like trying to get some blood out of her shirt.
Mhm.
Also,
And
it's
the, like-
winter times in Norway Wrath. And thralls don't get any kind of fur or like, any kind of real weatherproof clothing. So she's just out here trying to get some blood out of her shirt. And this guy, this young buck from the town, is coming over being like, you're not gonna put me off any longer. Ooh, I'm gonna get you. And the things I'll do to that cunt, he says out loud to her beautiful face.
Boy, we'll say this is not a sexually ungraphic book in the way these people speak to each other.
But here's the thing. There's a very clear bad guy, and it's this fuckface, And there's a very clear good guy, and I won't have anybody say it's not Calai. So.
In this scene, I would argue there are many bad guys in this book.
Yes. Oh, no, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
But if we were to pit two maybe like romantic interests or like, people vying for her romantic or sexual attention, it would be Calai and this fuckface Tori. And one is clearly the bad one, and it's Tori. That's the one. So he's like trying to get after her. And then he's like moving toward her to punch her in the face, maybe, because she's like, you're terrible and I'd never want to fuck you ever. I might not have the choice, but like that's just the way life is.
Yeah,
So
it's definitely not gonna be a choice decision in this situation.
Yeah. And so Calai steps in and he pushes Tori to the ground and he's like, you don't treat women like that, he says right out loud. And then everybody else is like, oh, the drunkards are giggling because Tori can't get up. And maybe he's in the fountain, ?
To be fair, listener, the reason
Winter Times Norway Wrath.
The reason Tori can't get up is because Kalai is an absolute mountain of a man. This is a woolly mammoth of a man. Did you clock that, by the way? At the end of the book, the woolly mammoth thing?
Of course I did. Please. It's Wrath, okay? Things happen in Wrath that are anything Elizabeth Stevens wants happens in Wrath, and one of the things she decided on was a fucking woolly mammoth.
A woolly mammoth.
Okay?
4 of them, 4 fat, loving ones.
And everybody like worships them, I think, and I'm into it. Maybe
I just took it as like it's the community pet, and so everybody feeds it because it's the neighborhood cat. Except
I'm also fine with that. Yeah,
continue.
But it's a herd of mammoths. So he steps in and Tori does a big bluster at him and tries to be like, don't you know who I am? And then he looks at the heroine and he's like, this isn't finished. I'm grr. And then he goes away. And so Calai hasn't seen her yet. He's only seen her like from afar. And right now she's looking away from him at Tori as he leaves. And he says, he'll be back, And she's like, yeah, yep, I know that. And then she turns around and Calai realizes why the gods sent him to this podunk village. He knew there was a reason.
Speechless by this
beautiful
sent from above. He is enamored instantly, and he's like, oh, this is my queen.
Yeah,
period.
I found my wife, my one and only wife, he says to himself. And so, oh yeah.
We're not
Should
even
we tell them now or no? We got to tell them later. We have to tell them later. I think
we have to tell them when we found out.
Yeah,
because like I started having inklings, and I was like, no, and then it did, and I was like, Elizabeth Stevens, you beautiful bastard.
Yeah. So she says, "Thank you, sir. That was really nice of you." And he's like, he starts stumbling over his words, the king of all of Wrath. He can't get it together because his future wife is standing in front of him.
He's also a little bit delighted because not only did Tori just treat him like some asshole, but also she sirs him instead of your highnesses or my kings him. And he's like, oh, is this what it's like to be just a Just a man.
Just a regular Joe.
To be clear, listener, Kalai has no interest in actually being just a regular man. Like, he is very much
No.
like, he's like, I'm the king.
Yeah.
Me king.
He fought for it, okay? And that's why he's called the Bone King. His uncle did a coup on his father when he was young, killed his father, and his mom had to spirit him away to a different podunk village, not this one. And when he was old enough and trained enough and hot enough, you know what I mean? Then he got to go.
It was very important that he was hot enough to overthrow his uncle king, even though the heroine was not yet born yet. It's fine.
I was born, I feel like, and like, God.
Were you?
Sometimes I get nice things.
I would love to know, Melody, what year do you think this book is?
It's a self-insert, so whenever it happened, I happened, ma'am. Okay?
Oh, bolder. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
I think I'm let loose, Sabrina. I don't know what happened. I think it's maybe all the fucks I don't give about so much.
Everything.
Because so much is on fire. But yeah, I'm saying it. I self-inserted my way into this book, and boy, Kalai was hot when he went in to Ithanur and killed his Viking uncle, fuckface. Oh, that bastard. He murdered him dead. And boy, he became the king. And I'm pretty sure he murdered him in like such a gruesome, terrible way. He probably did that like angel wing, the eagle on him. Oh my God,
if what he did in this book is what he did only because he didn't have access to his dungeon, I can only imagine
That was also one of my favorite lines.
Yeah, he's like,
I'm kind of limited because I don't have my dungeon.
Yeah, and then he does like, this is possibly the most brutal thing I've read on page.
Yeah, I loved it.
It was great. I have no notes.
You see a woman's throat open from the inside out. It burns open.
Yeah,
that's incredible.
Anyway,
that's incredible imagery. Wow.
We'll get there. We'll get there. Yeah. Now, listener, get ready to just while we're chatting, be like, man, is this the lady who gets her throat burned out?
Yeah. Think about it.
Hot tip: you'll be able to tell. You'll notice. She's a real piece of work.
Yeah, the one nice thing, not the one nice thing, but one of the best things about the villains in this book, the capital V villains, is they always say the quiet part out loud.
Yeah,
and it's very fun.
There's no, oh man, this person is redeemable. No, the bad people in this book are hideously unredeemable, irredeemable, and frankly, sometimes frankly, we deserve that.
Yeah, I like seeing bad people be punished, especially fictionally, okay? And so that's what's happening here. It was very nice. Maybe that's why I read this book 5 times. I don't know. So anyway.
Man, have we ever looked into like therapy with each other? You know what I mean? You ever feel like it'd be fun to just like read a book and then go talk to a professional and be like, hey, we both felt this way about this book. Can we discuss this?
Ooh, I like that. I like that. Couples counseling, but literature.
Yeah. Anyway, so
hey, if you're a therapist interested in pro bono work, you let us know.
And you happen to be, I guess, licensed in both Louisiana and New Jersey?
Well, I feel like BetterHelp does it somehow,
I'm not interested in being a part of that mass action.
No, me neither. Okay. So anyway, what? Mass action?
Mass action's definitely not that. Anyway,
I was going with you.
Hey, we're there. Yeah, ride or die. Oh.
Ride or die. Do we sow the oats? Do we feel the oats?
Melody, there was no question that you were there with me when I was saying mass action lawsuit. Mass action lawsuit. Never a doubt in my mind that you were like, yeah, girl. Yeah.
And that's a girl with a U, by the way, okay? That's a gender neutral girl.
You could also get like or like girl without
girl.
any.
Yeah, no vowels. Get the fuck out of here, vowels.
No, we don't have time for vowels, frankly. Okay.
I don't have the bandwidth for a vowel. Thank you so much, girl.
God. Girl. All right. So anyway, we then do get to meet our girl of the book.
That one.
Her name is Starling.
Thank you so much for saying that out loud to them because, oh boy, I tried to say it earlier and I didn't know what it was anymore.
How many times did you read this book, Mel?
5, and it's also in the title. We don't need to like.
Oh, did we
harp
ever
on
say
it.
that? By the way, listener, this is the Bone King and the Starling
I mean,
by
it
Elizabeth
says
Stevens.
this episode does what it says on the tin. You know what I mean? Like they already
yeah,
know.
you know exactly what
It's a Bone King and a Starling.
I will say though, like I don't read an episode title. If it's a podcast I listen to regularly, I just see some shit is downloaded to my phone, and I'm like, time to listen to whatever bullshit they've come out with. Anyway.
Okay, so now we get to meet Starling, and she is doing her thrallness, and it's awful, you know? But there's one like bright spot in her life, and it is her pal Elidorna.
No.
Is roughly her name.
You're not allowed to call her Elidorna because there is an Elia and an Elena, and there's too many that are close to Elidora. Frankly, you're not allowed.
Well, then
to
what's
do
her
that.
name? Sabrina?
I don't know. Do you want to come up with another hot piece of shit?
Well, it is an E, I think.
It is.
Yeah, so I only have so much I can do over here. It's not my choice, okay? I didn't name all these characters.
Okay, you're right. I'm so sorry. I came in a little hot. Let's just go
Edwin
full hog. It's
Knockham?
El Dorado. It's fine.
No,
it's-
this was not El Dorado, you nutter butter. I did not say that.
It's Ebenora.
Ebenora. That's what Ebenora
Ebenora.
is the way that the
Ebenora.
yeah. Okay. See, I knew there was like a D or a B. Or like
Are those the same because they're
or like
mirrored?
a G.
A G.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I knew it was one of those that like stops, you know? It wasn't like an L or an M, you know? It was one of those like boom, that kind of consonant. That's what I knew. And so that's why I was going there. That's where I went in my brain, but I'd never hit the right one.
Man, listen.
Edibora? What was her name?
Ebenora.
Ebenora.
So I would just like to throw out there that there isn't just a hard stop. There is, in fact, a hard stop, and then one of those letters that's like a.
Yeah.
So just very importantly, in fact, there's 2 of them because there's a and a
And then another
No, that's okay. No. That doesn't count. It doesn't matter. That's a vowel.
What?
Remember,
Oh,
we
because
don't
that's a
have time
vowel.
for
No, you're right.
vowels.
We don't have time for that. Vowels are out.
Vowels are fucking out, okay? Out. We're done with them. This is a vowel-free podcast, and if you have the nerve to tell us
That's right.
that there are lots of vowels taking place in this podcast, we're not interested.
Yeah.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever think about switching insurance companies to see if you could save some cash? Progressive makes it easy. Just drop in some details about yourself and see if you're eligible to save money when you bundle your home and auto policies. The process only takes minutes, and it could mean hundreds more in your pocket. Visit Progressive.com after this episode to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states.
Anyway,
So the one bright spot is her wonderful friend Ebenora. Okay.
vowels included.
And you know what? Sometimes you gotta do it. You know what I mean? Anyway, and so she's telling her, like, oh my God, the king is coming today, and he's the scariest king who's ever kinged. What's up?
I think my favorite thing is that you're like, you can have a little vowel as a treat, as if the world, as if the world using the Latin alphabet does not objectively require vowels. Anyway,
Fuck lemon bars. Vowels for treats.
I will never accept the phrase fuck lemon bars in any
Oh my God.
state. I just have a lot of feelings because if I'm gonna pick a sweet treat, it's lemon
No, you're right.
bars.
It's lemon for you. Yeah.
It's
Lemon cake
lemon.
too, because she's a
I love a lemon
and-
cake. Me
oof.
and not.
Oh, check you out.
Give me a break. I haven't read this in 6 months. You've read this 5 times in the last week.
You don't have to call me out like that. That was savage.
Human Goliath boy. That's his name.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't even him, it was his coworker, so there you go.
Hang on, I said unlike unlike him. He's the one who was besmirching lemon cake like a fucking asshole.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tim.
What is his name, do you think? I'm just gonna go find out. Hold on.
Oh boy.
Hold, please.
Oh, that's a lot of vowels. That doesn't work.
All right, hold on. This is riveting content.
The minute you find it, you and I are both gonna be like, son of a bitch.
We're gonna be so mad about it. Yeah. Taylor. God damn it. Taylor Hugh. You were there.
I kept wanting,
you were there. You were dancing around it.
I was doing like one of those like man bird dances where you're like, hey.
You were doing a mating dance.
Ooh, hey. But like that bird was like,
bird.
No.
It was.
It was like,
It was flitting in every other direction.
Honestly, hiding implies that it didn't think that I was so worthless as far as a potential mate that it thought that it had to hide instead of just being like, oh, you think you're an option?
You think you can get all this?
That's
Come
bold.
on.
That's bold. Anyway, where were we?
I don't know. We're off the rails
Viking
is where we are.
times.
Yeah. Oh, anyway, she hears like all of these tales about the most gruesome, most killingest, most scariest king in the whole wide world. And he's going to be riding in today. And it's going to happen. And so he does. And he comes in on the most beautiful horse she's ever seen and is never mentioned again. And I did wonder about that horse for a while. And that's okay.
I forgot there were horses.
What made it the most beautiful one? You know what I mean? And like, it was more than 18 hands, right? Like, he's a mountain.
Him.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Those Nordic ponies and shit like that from like way back in the times.
Yeah.
They could handle it. They were stout little things. They were like, oh yeah, whatever. A 6, 7, 8 foot man with axe for hands. Yeah.
Yep.
We got
You're
this.
like, I'll do quick work with that.
Oh,
no worries.
Man. If he doesn't have his feet in stirrups, they drag in the dirt. Yeah, it's fine. We got
and
that.
It's Tuesday, you know?
Yeah, that's a Tuesday. That's a late Tuesday ride. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Okay, so he rides in, and Ebenora makes fun of Starling by being like, I'm pretty sure he was, like, staring right at you.
Yeah, except
and, like,
Tori, that asshole, was right in front of them because Tori was like, Tori is that guy, listener.
Mm-hmm.
Tori is like, the king! And everyone's like, woo! And the king's just like,
You're the worst.
You're a heckler.
You're the worst type of human.
Yeah, we don't like that. But then he makes eye contact, and she's like, there's no way he's actually making eye contact with me
Couldn't possibly.
From his 12-hand pony. And
it's gotta be
that's
at least
real small.
8.
That's real small.
That's not, I don't know that he would have to like move his foot to get onto the pony.
When he's like, it's time to
mean?
leave, he just stands with his feet spread and the pony comes underneath him and he lowers onto its back. Wait, this is the world I want to live in. I will accept no other You don't even have to fucking use a mount stool. You have to take his feet on the ground. Oh my god, the pony gets tired and he just puts his feet on the ground and he walks forward.
Starts fucking bow leg.
Oh my god. Oh, this is beautiful. He's so much sexier in this weird, fucked up little. So strong that he just hauls a pony around by his hips.
This is so stupid. And it makes me so happy. Oh my god, do you think anybody's listening anymore? Probably not.
Oh my god.
Sabrina can't make sounds. She's laughing so hard.
It's because I couldn't breathe. Oh my god.
Okay.
Anyway.
So now we're fast forwarding to the feast night because the king brought every feast item possible and the village is so excited about it because although their leaders are like bathing in jewels, the rest of the town is sort of living in poverty. And he's really confused about this, is Calais. And he kind of wants to get to the bottom of it. But anyway, she is serving at this feast. And in the middle of it, as Edarama is handing her sweets, you know, she's like, she's like handing her sweets. Is what's, yeah. And then she's like going around and like trying to fill ale and do all the bullshit. And then one of the guys up at the front table stands up and he's like, "The king has requested a bitch for the evening."
No,
and everybody's
he's
yeah.
like, wait, like specifically he stands up and he's like, "We may not have wealth, we may not have blah blah blah, but we do have the prettiest, sexiest ladies this side of that big thing of water that I don't know we've ever crossed in this time."
Yeah, that one.
Yeah, like, well, what up? This is our bitches. They're hot.
Yeah.
They got great pussies.
Yeah. So he's like, anybody who is like unattached and is willing, stand up and the king will choose between you and then you'll get like a real nice payout afterwards for your troubles, for your pleasure. And so everybody stands up and he starts walking around, but like the tables are so close together that he just has to walk along the wall that she's, you know, standing out of the way.
Well, and she and what'd you call her? Idarama? Yeah.
That's her name.
She and Idarama like make eye contact because he's getting real close to Idarama and they're like, "Oh my god, he's gonna take Idarama for the evening."
Yeah.
And then Idarama's eyes get real big and she's like, "Why is she looking like that?" And then she looks in front of her and there is probably a belly button because this man is gajadormus. He is an absolute tank of a man. And then she like looks up and makes eye contact with him.
And then she's like, "Oh my god, I can't make eye contact. I'm not allowed. That's a murder offense for a thrall." And so he says, "Okay, what about you? Are you willing?" And she's like, "What, my king?" And he's like, "Well, you're standing." She's like, "Oh god, I'm a thrall." He's like, "Yeah, but a sexy one."
Yeah, the hottest thrall in the world. Are you willing? And like in his head, he's like, "I'm not gonna take no for an answer." Actually, no, out loud. This isn't a brain thought. This is an out loud thought. He says the quiet part out loud because he's like, "Are you willing to come with me?" And she's like, And then he's like, "Well, I was being nice and giving you a choice, but now you're coming with me." And so
I'm
he
the
does
king.
like grab her and basically bring her to the front like fancy high table and then sits and plops her on his lap and then he starts feeding her
Oh, I'm so sorry.
treats.
He takes one of his eating utensils and then he takes his other eating utensil and he starts like, because we're in Viking times, who knows what it is? You know what I mean? It could be a knife and another knife.
It is probably
It could be his 2 axe hands.
his 2 axe hands. He hasn't replaced them for the evening yet. He hasn't done his little ka-chunk and pulled it off and then like put his other not axe hand on himself.
Yeah,
wow,
the softer one.
We've really painted an image of this super hot man. Dual handing, not dual wielding, dual handing axes. and
not
like,
breaking ponies.
and basically harnessed to a pony in a way that if he stands up, that pony no longer touches the ground.
Yeah.
And wow, are we sure that he's not like a trademark of John Deere or something at this point?
What?
It just feels like something you would see on a farm. This feels like a tractor of some kind.
You know what? I think that we have been remiss in actually telling them what they look like, other than she's very small and black and he's very big. So she is the only black woman in town, and she's got like really, really curly hair, but she can't really take care of it. And so it's sort of like the braids are a little bit matted and stuff. And then he is at least 6'7", and he has long, long red hair. And he's burly. He's a burly one. And there are probably scars
big Viking
all over
man.
him. Yeah,
It's stated that he has scars all over him multiple times. I mean, it's hard not to have scars all over you when you have axes for hands,
This is what I'm saying. Yeah. I mean, how do you wipe? You know what I mean? So anyway, she's like...
Shockingly, listener, those scars don't even come up in this book. Probably because they're not exactly few and far between.
Because they're numerous?
They're numerous and they are fresh. So anyway, also this was so important to me because, oh my God, Stan, a hottie who notices something little and then makes it a big old fucking deal because like when he's standing in front of her against the wall, he cradles her hand and then opens it and sees the sweet treat in her hand. And boy, I'm a slut for a sweet treat. And he's like,
it's probably a lemon bar.
And no, the way it's described is not, and it is delicious. I could see it in my mind's eye. Okay.
Is it more like a baklava? What are we talking about here?
I was seeing like a syrupy loaf. Like a syrupy loaf because of the way it was described, like it was very sticky, but it's also definitely like some kind of like cakey kind of dessert. It's described as a loaf when it's a sweet bread, and I was like, oh man, just like the just tastiest little sweet bread, just doused in like a lavender
and like molasses honey.
Mead mixture.
Ooh.
Oh boy, a meaty sweet look, meaty,
and like a little bit of salt.
With a meaty, not meaty. Anyway,
correct.
Vowels aren't allowed, and you also have to be really specific about your consonants. Okay,
that's what I'm saying. Otherwise, I'll get confused.
Yeah, exactly.
So. Anyway, he opens her hand and she's like, "Oh my God, am I gonna get in trouble? Is Ella Blora gonna get in trouble?" She wonders, and he is like, "Ooh, you like sweets, huh?" She's like,
"No." He doesn't even say anything yet. He just like folds her hand softly over the treat again, and then like holds her fist in his gigantic axe mitt and then looks at her and he's like, are you kidding?
It's an implied
me?
Our little secret. She's got a secret with the king now.
And then,
hot.
It's just important because this Hilla comes back because he has her now at the high table and he's using those axes to carve off some deliciousness for her and then feeds her and she's like, oh my God, I'm eating off the same utensil that he ate off of. And he's a very, very comfy place to sit. And then...
oh my gosh. Yeah. And like she has ox for the first time. And he's like, and he gets so mad every single time he finds out like just how austere her life has been up until this point,
Well, and then he also makes the announcement that like whatever is left over after the feast, it's for all of the thralls. Like they get the leftovers kind of thing. And everyone's like, well, that's kind of weird, but also like he's the king and all the thralls are like really happy because they're treated like shit. Like, I mean, they're Norway times slaves, right? From raids. But also, like, this Winterbren is, like,
bad.
Bad,
It's like the
bad.
worst kind of surf times, you know?
Yes.
It's very eat the rich, okay, everybody?
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever think about switching insurance companies to see if you could save some cash? Progressive makes it easy. Just drop in some details about yourself and see if you're eligible to save money when you bundle your home and auto policies. The process only takes minutes, and it could mean hundreds more in your pocket. Visit Progressive.com after this episode to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states.
So he is sitting there, like, feeding her. He orders an entire sweet loaf for her. And then she, like, sighs or something, and he says, "What's going on, little bird?" Because that's what he calls her, if he's not calling her
Little
Starling.
Bird.
Oh, my
what
God.
I'm a slut for a nickname, too. I swear to God. Kalai was like, hey, ids? I got those.
Oh, yeah. I'll make it rain, ids.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So he says, he says, like, "What's going on?" And she goes, "No, I've never felt like this before." And he says, "Like what?" And she says, "Sheltered. I've never felt sheltered like this." And she's like slowly melting more and more into his side because she starts like ramrod straight. She doesn't know what to do with this situation. And the two leaders of the place, Olaf and Rosalind. Hello, I did it. Rosalind. Yeah, get it? It was Olek, right? Olek and Rosalind, yeah. So they're like technically, she is their ward. But that just means that like she's under their protection, but they don't treat her any better than any other thrall. They might even treat her worse.
I was going to say,
know?
pretty sure that objectively she is treated worse than anybody else because she gets blamed for a lot of shit.
Yeah.
Partially because she's orphaned. Like, she doesn't have parents anymore. And so they're, frankly, a little bit shitty about the fact that they have to take care of her. And, like, it's a lot of that, you owe me because I didn't leave you outside to die, essentially. Right. You had no choice in the matter, but because we made the decision to take care of you, now you owe us.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So they're both sitting there and she doesn't want to like misbehave in front of them, but she's in this situation that like literally has never happened in the history of everdom. So she doesn't know how to act, right? And nevertheless, she starts getting more and more comfortable with him because he's like rubbing her back and he's feeding her morsels, you know? And he's just like, he's so warm. He's so goddamn warm. He radiates heat. He's like put a little bit of his, he's put like some of his fur on her a little bit. So she's like cozy. He's doing a big cozy on her.
Just in case.
He's a bit of a Sebastian, if I'm honest with you. In the way that he cares for her. Yeah.
See, when I think of somebody whether or not somebody counts as a Sebastian, a lot of it boils down to, are they deeply broken on the inside in a way?
No, I know.
Here.
But like one of the hallmarks of Sebastian the Lord St. Vincent is his
true.
constant care, his nurturing of her, keeping her cozy and feeding her and doing all the things.
I would make the argument that HBTM Sebastian has far surpassed what Lord St. Vincent is and is not.
It's
true.
Its
own thing.
That's true.
I would say that this is a hallmark of an Elizabeth Stevens hero. Period.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
This is an ES hero.
Big scary cinnamon roll.
Yes. Oh my God.
Terrifying cinnamon roll.
Oh my God. Oh, and they don't even know that they're a cinnamon roll until
well, they're only cinnamon rolls for her, you know?
Yeah, so they didn't even know. They're like, I'm gonna take care of her, but also like frankly from I might not seem like a cinnamon roll exactly. I'm gonna seem a little scary to her. All the way up until so suddenly I'm not. And then I'm probably gonna be scary again at some point.
I mean, he stays scary. That's just like, you got to live with it.
Yeah, but she doesn't know that he stays scary.
That's true.
That's important. So anyway, he just softens and she like ends up melting. And then Oleg and Rosalind start being heinous assholes and making comments about like,
how she's probably not going to be able to keep up with him.
Yeah.
And Rosalind's like, if you're going to take her virginity, then we're going to need some compensation. That would be the fair thing to do.
No, she doesn't even say that yet. That's not until way later.
Okay.
And the reason that's important is that it's like an unspoken thing. All of this is unspoken.
No, at the very least, she implies it.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I thought you said she
it's
was,
implied
like,
hard.
Blatantly. Yeah, okay.
Sorry, no. She's like, oh, once you take her virginity, she'll be like worth so much less. And he's like, oh, that's weird. And then she's like, yeah, my king, but you're gonna really help us by teaching her the ways of pleasure so that she can take care of the rest of the men, because they've been holding the rest of the men off so that she finds out later Rosalind can auction off her virginity. She doesn't know any of that,
Gross.
though. I know. And so now she's so impressed with him because Rosalind is the smartest, scariest, most ruthless person she's ever met in her life. And then King Calais just outlogics her every time.
To be fair, saying that Rosalind is like the smartest ever is like saying that, the goldfish is the big one in the pond with minnows. Like in comparison, yes, she is the wiliest wile of all of the people, but also, tiny fish, little pond.
Yeah. So anyway, Callie's like, all right, well, and then Rosalind says, you might want to wash her though first, because wow, she's so gross and she smells bad. And she's like humiliated.
Well, yeah, but also like Rosalind, let literally anybody in your town have an ounce of self-respect without you crushing them under your fucking bejeweled heel. And maybe this wouldn't be a fucking issue if you weren't such a nightmare of a human being.
It's true. And one of my favorite things about Calais is that he is very anti-slavery the whole time. And so his plan is to come in here, not only do the games, but also reform all of this bullshit and all of this like huge inequality. So his plan is already to get rid of the thrall system and make sure that everybody's paid wages for the things they do. And everybody has like basic human dignity. What a thought. And that the wealth is distributed more equally, because he's figuring out that like all of this is not correct. People should not be as poor as they are for basically like their village GDP relative to other villages. So anyway, I'm so sorry. He looks at her and he's like, well, Rosalind, I'm so sorry. Didn't you say she was your ward? Is this how you treat your wards, your thralls? She seems like kind of starving. And she's so dirty.
Ward?
Yeah. And they're both like, oh, you can't expect us to treat thralls better than that, blah, blah, blah. So then he's like, actually, that's a great idea, Rosalind. You're a genius. You're a hot genius. I'm going to need you to go make her a bath. And Rosalind's like, oh, yeah, of course. And she tries to get another person to do it. And he's like, no. You are going to do it personally. So he puts Rosalind in her place very severely. And she has to go off and put together this bath for Starling. So as she's like eating all these things and she's like warm for the first time in maybe 2 months, like warm all the way down to her bones.
Yeah,
she starts getting really sleepy. Yeah. And suddenly she's like, oh no, his chest is so warm and my eyelids are so droopy.
Oh no. What a good place for a snuggle. I got this.
It's so comfy over here.
This fur around me. And oh, wonderful. And then he swoops her up and then carries her off.
Well, he kisses her first. He says that he can't stand it anymore. And he like swoops in and she's like, wait, it seems like he might want to kiss me. And then she says, it's my first time. And he is saying like, she doesn't know if he knows that she means this will be her first sexual encounter. But then, like, I'm sorry, the conversation with Oleg and Rosalind confirms that she's a virgin, and he asks her, like, are they for real? Is that true? And she's like, yes, my king. Really, you should choose someone else. He's like, not gonna happen. She's like, no, really, though, wouldn't know how to please you. And he says, there's not a situation in which you wouldn't please me. And then he takes her mouth with his.
Mhm.
And it's so good that she like responds, and then he loves the fact that she's responsive, and then he loses his ever-loving mind, and he swoops her up, and he takes her out to just a chorus of cheers
Oh my
from the
God.
hall.
It's very Splash Mountain-y, you know? Where
Yeah,
everyone's
oh
like,
yeah.
fuck yeah.
Yeah, go get your
go see your lady.
yeah.
And then, listener, and then he takes her into that bedroom that is usually like the
Oleg and Rosalind's.
Lord and master of the castle. And he
Yeah.
takes her in there and he has her up against this pole, and then he's snuffling up on her and like
Yeah.
opening up her clothes, and then he like
And then he rips her shift off. He totally Hulk smashes her shift in two off her body.
and he says to her, "You fear me, little bird?" And she says, "Yes, my king." And he says,
Ugh.
"I understand why, and I am sorry for it. There will be time for me to reassure you." He snarls against the side of my face, "But
Yeah.
not tonight. I cannot, and I will not wait."
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, "We're doing this." And then
And then she feels the head of his cock like up against her ass. And she's like, oh my God. And then it goes a little bit lower. And well, at first she's like, wait a minute, is that a place that people put cocks? Like that's my exit only zone. I don't understand. I didn't know men
For
did
now.
that. Yeah. And then he like pushes down and like gets underneath her. But she's terrified and dry as all get out. And so he like snarls and he's like,
he picks her up and he's like, "I'm gonna pop this on this penis," and then
Oh, and he has a
literally
monster
can't
dong,
get it.
everybody.
Oh my God. But, I mean, to be fair, we've already discussed axes for
it's just
hands.
proportional. Yeah.
Pony as a fanny pack. He is
Right.
gigantic, okay? And his cock is, in fact, proportional, okay?
Yep.
So he picks her up, and then it doesn't work, and so he's like, okay, fine. And he, like, puts her back down, and then turns her around,
Yeah.
pushes her to her knees,
Yeah.
and then
And then he says, I need your mouth.
Yeah, and then he basically face fucks her.
Well, but it's nice though, you know? Like it's not aggressive.
Listener, I need
It's
you to
just
understand.
real enthusiastic.
Listener, I need you to understand as somebody who is reading this for the first time and not the fifth time.
Oh, golly.
Boy, it is like I understand the non-con content warning, right?
Oh,
like,
maybe it's aggressive.
it is stated that he has his hands in her hair and he's basically just fucking down her throat until he pulls it out and then comes all over her.
Oh my God, like on
And
her
then-
eye and down her tits.
And then, listener,
And then
he falls to his knees and starts licking
whoa. First he puts his hand in his own cum, rubs it on both of her nipples, covers her nipples in his cum, and then leans forward and sucks his cum off her nipples. Okay?
Sir. This is a man who is not afraid of his own bodily fluids. And I
Wowza.
was here for axe hand pony fanny pack monster cock cum sucking. Okay? I was here for it. And then he
Me
pulls
too.
that and
Just for the record.
I love the idea of like me, like I'm just, and then you like pop inside. And you're like, oh, also me. I also concur.
too.
I concur. Anyway, and so then he like leans up and he's smooching on her, and like she thinks it's hot. Now she's starting to get turned on, and now he's touching her and like.
And then he's like, it's bath time. And so he picks her up again, takes her into that side room. She has never seen a hot bath that is for her in her actual life, like a one that you can submerge yourself in. This is nuts. And so
Not
he
even
gets in with
submerge
her.
herself, all of them, both of them.
Yeah, he can get in there too. And probably the fanny pack,
Yeah, the fanny pack fits
probably
too.
brings his fanny pack.
Yeah, fanny pack is there as like a neck pillow,
Yeah, and it's just like in the background.
Boy, that fanny pack, it's the cleanest fanny pack. It is the cleanest fanny pack in all the land.
Yeah, exactly. So he gets it there with her. Oh my god. This is so stupid. And I still love it so much.
Man, Mel, you know how sometimes you and I like fall into a bit? Sometimes we fall into a bit and it really just feels like coming home.
Agreed. And pony fanny pack is one of those bits. You know what I mean?
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. You chose to hit play on this podcast today. Smart choice. Progressive loves to help people make smart choices. That's why they offer a tool called Auto Quote Explorer that allows you to compare your Progressive car insurance quote with rates from other companies. So you save time on the research and can enjoy savings when you choose the best rate for you. Give it a try after this episode at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Not available in all states or situations. Prices vary based on how you buy.
Anyway, so bath time. Continue about bath time.
Yeah, so he pops her in front of him. He's sitting like with her back to his front. And he just goes down and he rubs one out for her real good. And she's confused. She's never had an orgasm before. So she comes really hard right there. And then afterwards, he's like petting on the rest of her. And he ends up washing the rest of her body, I think, right now.
Oh my God, at one point, he whispers in her ear, "I do not know where you came from, but if I had never found you, I would have missed you."
Yes.
And it was...
This man with the romantic lines earlier, when they were just kissing, he said, "I thought you said you've never been with a man." And she said, "I haven't." And he says, "Then why does it feel like you've pleased 1,000 men just to find out exactly how to kiss me?" And she's like, "Oh my God, what is that even?" And so now he's not only like washing her and like getting her completely clean for probably the first time in years, poor thing. He also takes like the soap and then oil and works all of the knots out of her curls and says that he'll have to talk to the bone carver, the bone man, to make a special comb just for her hair.
Mm-hmm.
And she thinks like, I can't remember the last time I was able to run my fingers through my hair, and he was so patient and he was so careful about doing this for me. And she doesn't know what to do with herself. She doesn't understand what is currently happening because this was described to everyone as a bed whore for the night in return for payment. And now he's like fingering all the knots out of her hair. Oh.
Well, and also like super importantly, he keeps saying such sweet things to her and she keeps thinking to herself, these are just words in the heat of the moment. I can't take this to heart. I need to remember that this is not real. This is a night of fantasy. I can enjoy it while it lasts, but this is not forever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then he says to her, I just have to read this out loud for listener. He says, "I want your virginity in all ways tonight, little bird. I've had your mouth and your pussy. I will take your asshole next, but I will be as gentle as I am able."
Please hold. He has not taken that pussy yet. Because
I know.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Okay. That's fine.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Because very importantly, he like lifts her out of the water and then
he gets so
carries
worked up.
her over to the bed and like there.
No. No, that does not happen, listener, at all.
Is that for the asshole?
What he does is pick her up, and so she just like bends over and hangs onto the side of the tub so she doesn't fall.
Oh my god, I forgot about the bathtub doggy style.
Yes, yeah. And then he's like with her from behind, but he's gotten her like so wet, and he continues to do that. He continues like working her open. And then, boy, he says, I'm gonna try and like seat myself fully. And after you're gonna feel some pain, but it'll go away. And she's like, okay, my king. And so he enters her completely, and then he just starts fucking her.
And he specifically starts combing his hands through her pubic hair and then touching on her clitoris. And he says,
Yes.
You're so brave, little bird, taking
Yeah.
my cock so well, being such a good girl. And then he really goes to town. And
Yeah.
like, she's into it, he's into it. Because like now it's pleasurable. And so
Yeah.
now it like, she's like, I could get down with this. You know?
Oh, and then he says, have you ever touched yourself like to orgasm? And she's like, no. And then he says, so I'm your first in all things. And she nods. And then he just starts thanking every god of love and sex and fertility and and marriage and all the bullshit.
He's like, give me that pantheon, baby. Like,
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. And then she's so overcome that he keeps on trying to get her to call him Calai instead of my king or King Calai or whatever. He wants to be on a more personal level with her, obviously. He's like on that wife train. But anyway, all of a sudden she's so overcome that she says, Calai, King Calai, I correct in my desperation, please. And he says, please what, little bird? Tell me, what do you need from me? A warbling sound chokes my throat, and I all but scream, let me come for you, please. My head hangs in defeat. Take me. And then he roars out a battle cry, which is not the only instance of that in this book, I'll tell you that much. And then he just starts like slamming into her. And it gets so bananas that she comes to the point that she's an absolute rag doll. And then he gets so overcome by this, like, climb up to his climax that he falls over into the bath on his knees. And like, she's just sitting on his dick now. And then he's just like fucking up into her from that prayer on my knees position kind of thing. And it is incredible. We crash into the bath, water sloshing over its smooth edge. He lands on his knees with me still on top of him, my body still impaled on his erection. One of his hands clutches my hips bruisingly, the other arm still lining the front of my body. That hand wrapped around my throat. Everybody, okay?
And very importantly, as he's roaring and climaxing in her, just distantly you can hear, nee!
Yep.
Just so importantly, there's a distance.
Yeah, that pony's hanging out being like, do you still need a neck pillow? Or like,
That fanny
are
pack's
you
like, yeah, man, get it. So anyway.
Yeah. And so earlier this night, he had told her, like, I'm going to seed you tonight. And like, I'm sorry, but I can't stop myself.
Okay.
And she's confused because she's like, I thought that's what he like brought me here for. Like, that was the whole deal. And then now.
Also just need everyone to know that this bathtub scene ends with, or maybe it happened at some point in the middle. I think it's after this. It had to be. I don't even know. It's some point there in the bath though, because I have never read a hotter shaving scene. Because he tells her to stand, and she does. And then he says, turn, and she does. And then he
gets out a knife.
And he says, spread your legs. I'm going to remove some of the hair. I intend to feast for hours. And when I do, I don't intend to get your curl stuck between my teeth. And it's one of those things where I've always kind of like halfway jokingly, like, if you have that big of a fucking issue, like, let people have their own preferences as far as pubic hair is concerned, but like,
Sure.
you really have an issue, then like, do something. You do something about it.
You do it. Yeah.
Yeah, which
Yeah.
is like whatever. It's a whatever, because sometimes it squicks me out. The way, like,
Sure.
it, even in an amazing book, when they're like,
Mhm.
"I'm going to shave you now" or something like that, I'm like, "Oh, you could do this in a less
Mhm.
weird way." But he, like, this was just, I don't know. I think maybe it was the fact that, like, I think it was a competence boner about how well he could wield a knife.
No, absolutely.
I think it
And
was
it's
a
like this
knife thing.
big axe-handed man being so deft with like a tiny blade. You know what I mean? Can I just read what he says right after he comes inside her?
Uh-huh.
Because he said, "Gods," he groans, "the sounds you make." His hand tightens around my throat and his fingers between my legs start to move faster. You make even the most inexperienced male believe himself a god to women. He chuckles against my cheek. If I didn't have your virginity smeared across my cock right now, I'd have guessed you were very experienced in this. Uh,
There's also just really, really importantly, he does fuck her in the cunt again at one point on
Yeah.
the bed, because he's also fingering her asshole to prepare her, because now it's time for him to take her last virginity.
Yeah, because he's like, "I have to take all of your holes tonight. I'm going to claim you everywhere. Thank you
And
so much."
when he basically rolls up to get some, made, like, homemade lubrication,
Boy.
he says to her,
Yeah, yeah,
"You
yeah.
take me so easily
Uh-huh.
now. Just a wet hole for my pleasure?"
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Kali.
And she says, "I don't understand why something basically so degrading makes me feel so much warmth."
His
And I was
words are
like, "I
unkind,
know."
so why
Yes.
then does the fist in my chest clench?
Questions we all have sometimes, girl, you know?
Mood.
That's
Sometimes,
okay.
like, you're like, yeah, this is fine. This is fine, actually.
This is more than fine in this moment. Okay.
This isn't dog and house on fire fine. This is like, oh, this is actually this is actually
this is
fine.
super fine. May need to reflect on it later, but whoa, we're not stopping it.
You are correct, actually, that I am in fact just a wet hole
Yeah.
for your pleasure, my king.
That's the one.
Yeah, you're correct. All right. Thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And so then he's fingering her ass, and he has one finger inside her, and then he says, "Who's inside you? Who owns all of you?" And she says, My king." And he's like, "Nope. And if you answer wrong again, I'm going to shove 2 fingers in. So, like, be careful.
And she
Who
says,
owns you?"
and then she says,
And then
King
she says,
Kalai.
"King Kali." And he's like, "Wrong again." And he's just like, bam, that second finger in there. And everyone cringed a tiny bit, you know?
We all cringed, but we also all clenched, you know?
And we were all there for it. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And then she says, "Kali," and he's so happy about it. Oh, at one point, I don't remember when, but they're like fucking with abandon. And he says, "You're mine. Like, I have
You're
all of
mine.
you." Yeah.
Your cries are mine. Your breasts
Yes.
are mine. Your whimpers are mine. Your hot cunt is mine. Your ass is mine. Your future sons and daughters are mine. Your skin, your hair, your hopes, your fears, your wants, desires. It's all mine. You are mine, little bird. And then, voice softening as he pecks at my lips while I utter little whimpers, "And I am yours. Kali belongs to you, Starling."
Mhm.
Like, he's taking ownership because she has ownership of him
Yeah. And like he's already called her his queen while they're fucking.
already.
And then the other thing that he also says, which was just one of my favorite moments, was like, "I'm the only one who's ever going to give you pleasure. You're never going to have a cock like this again," or whatever. And she thinks to herself, like, "I don't know why he had to be mean about it." Like, I don't know why he had to tell me that no experience will ever live up to this one. I feel like I already know that.
Of note,
But what he means is, you're not going to ever get any cock 'cause it's always going to be mine. Anyway,
I also
sorry.
just need everyone to know that this book is only 198 pages long.
Mm-hmm.
This first scene is just
As a good third of it.
all
right?
sex. It is fully like 35 pages. It is
Yeah,
like
minimum. It's so
it's
good.
a lot. It's fantastic.
It's so good.
It's like from like 14% until 40% of this book, and
Uh-huh.
no problems. It was great. It
Oh.
was wonderful. So
Look, they covered a lot of ground, you know?
yeah, and so
Yeah.
then it's like after all of this is done, he puts her to bed and is like, "Stay here, stay cozy and comfy, and I'll be back. I'm gonna go get us some little snicky snacks, you know."
Yeah.
And then he walks out just
And then he says,
completely butt
wait
ass
here,
naked.
my princess.
Mhm.
And she says, and then the last thing she thinks before she falls asleep is, he called me princess, not queen.
Oh,
Mm.
Kalai, I need you.
Get it the fuck together, dude.
So then he walks out of the room, butt ass naked, just
Yeah.
mass
swinging.
swinging in the wind. And like boy, like whinnies all around, and everyone starts cheering, and they're just really excited. And then somebody says, "So does our sweet young queen know she's taken her king's virginity yet?" And then he just grins and blushes. Oh my god!
This
it's
Duke
real
is a
cute.
virgin.
This Duke is a virgin, and he's a red-cheeked virgin because he's like, yeah. I mean, she doesn't
Yeah.
know, but like maybe it's better if she doesn't know. You know?
Yeah, she doesn't
Like,
need to know. And then somebody was like, she was like, well, her screams could be heard all the way to the Capitol. So, you know, I don't think she was disappointed in your performance. And he's like,
Yeah.
hell yeah.
Well, and then everyone, valid questions are like, so like, what did she say to being queen? Is she excited? And he's like, I mean, you heard her. And they were like, I'm so sorry. That isn't what we were hearing. We were hearing sex sounds. And he's like, but
Right.
like,
He's like,
I mean,
you did like tell her about her new position in
like-
the world.
he's like, yeah, I kept telling
I said stuff like that.
that she's
Ah.
mine, and I called her my queen,
I
and
said that
all
out
of these
loud.
things, and I never want her to be. I told her that like my cock was the only cock that she'd ever enjoy.
Yeah.
You know,
And
and they're
have.
all like, Kalai,
Yeah.
bro.
And one of these dudes looks at him after a thrall brings him the big platter of food and wine and everything, and they pay her for that service. And so she like starts like almost crying and being like, thank you so much. And he's like, no worries. You know, it's fine. You just go on and have a good night. And then one of them's like, oh, the Bone King, or the King of Bones, might now be the King of Lambs.
It's very
and,
cute. He's like, yep.
And he's like,
Oh, and
well, for my wife, yeah.
Mhm.
For my wife, absolutely.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Fiscally responsible, financial geniuses, monetary magicians. These are things people say about drivers who switch their car insurance to Progressive and save hundreds. Because Progressive offers discounts for paying in full, owning a home, and more. Plus, you can count on their great customer service to help you when you need it, so your dollar goes a long way. Visit Progressive.com to see if you could save on car insurance. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states or situations.
And then they say, Kalai, I think one thing you need to think about is, because of her station in life, I don't know that she's had many choices. So you could tell her she's going to be queen, or you could give her basically first choice in her life. And he's
this
like,
Viking King asshole in his mind goes, I will offer this female a choice, perhaps the first one she's been given in her life. But what will I do if she denies me? And then my eye twitches along with my sword hand. And he's
oh my
like,
God.
no, I'm not accepting that. You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to give her a choice, but also like, am I going to give her a choice? Like, this is my
The
wife as far as the
idea-
gods are
Oh
concerned.
my God. the idea of this like 6'6", axe-handed, bescarred, rugged, like Viking, and like his eye twitches thinking about losing her made me laugh so well.
I saw it. If this was an animated film,
oh yeah,
it's hyper realistically drawn, and then when it happens, all facial expression goes completely blank, and his face gets real cartoony. And then it's like twitch, and then he goes back to normal. You know, that's how I imagine it anyway.
I love it. I love it.
So then he does decide, though. He's like, I won't steal her though, unless I have to. But what I'll do is I'll use the games over the next couple of days to convince her
to woo her
to be mine.
Yeah.
Which, Kalai, do you take notes?
No. What? Me or Kalai?
Kalai.
Oh, okay.
Do you take recommendations? You know, like, do you? I have a few. Like, actually, I don't even have to, because literally every other person in this book has given you some food for thought. You know, you got some stuff to gnaw on. You've got mastication to do, my friend. And he's like, no, actually, I'm on a hunger strike right now. So, like, thanks for that. But I know
I'm just going to push that aside.
I know what I'm doing.
Yeah. So now we switch perspectives because she wakes up to somebody like shaking her and being like, get up, get out of bed. And so she's really disoriented. She doesn't know what's going on. Rosalind's there. She's naked. She's really warm. Why is she so warm? And then she's like, everything rushes back and she sees Kalai sleeping next to her. And she's just like, oh my gosh, you know, like my fairy tale is at an end, essentially. She's a pumpkin now. And Rosalind gives her like one of her shifts because she remembers Kalai ripping hers off of her body and into several pieces. And Rosalind escorts her out and then into this like side room. And she says, how much did the king give you? And at first, she actually can't really even process what's going on. And then she's like, what are you talking about? And Rosalind's like, the reward. He said he was going to give you a reward. How much did he give you? Because we deserve a good share of it as your guardians and like all the food we fed you over the years and shit. And she says, he didn't give me any reward at all. And Rosalind is pissed. Mm-hmm. And then why does she hit her? I can't remember.
So she slaps her in the face first, and because of not getting the reward and all of those things. And
it is because she didn't get a reward.
Back, and then she says, and also, I don't remember why, but she ends up like,
you humiliated me last night
with the bath.
Yeah, you think I'm gonna let you humiliate me in front of all of my people like that? As if she did it, ma'am. Yeah, so she tells her to turn around and show her back, and she lashes her 3 times with this, like, wire whip that she always carries around because she's a fucking monster.
Yeah.
So then
she gets sent to work.
Yeah, and Kalai wakes up, and he's like, ugh, my wife is gone. She absconded in the night. Oh my God, why would she abandon me like this? I don't understand. And then his, like, you know, first in line, his right-hand dude walks in. And he's like, oh, yeah, so did you, like, make a decision? Did you have a good time? And he's like, well, yeah, like, but I have to go find her and, like, talk to her and make sure she knows. And he goes, oh, that makes sense. Now I understand why she was carrying water into the kitchens earlier, like a thrall. And Kalai's like, oh, no. Ha. And Pulio, I think is his name, maybe.
Something like that, yeah.
He says, like, I told you not to do this stupid ruse, this bedmate ruse. This is really dumb, and I told you not to do it. And Kalai's like, I'm Bone King.
So what?
You know?
I was supposed to wait until I got her back to Ithanir to wet my wick? How could I do that?
Or like tell everybody I had a crush? I couldn't possibly do that. Okay.
Oh,
I'm the Bone King.
Ugh. If there's no blood, the pony is unimpressed. Okay, buddy.
Right? Dead-faced at Pulio right now.
I love the idea now. I'm so sorry. We're going back. We're going back into this bit. Everyone has given him this advice. He's got his pony fanny pack, and he's like, Geraldo. Can you believe?
Geraldo.
Yep, that's his name.
Love it.
Can you believe that they want me to like propose first? Like, confess my feelings before I can. And the pony's just like, nay. And he's like, I know. Like, yeah, and he's like, I know. How could they?
Yeah.
But like, what if? We're gonna work this one out. What if I just like take her as like basically a common whore for the night, kind of, because like thralls can't sit down. So like any standing ladies, he.
Yeah.
Right? That's such a good idea.
No is no. God, you've never even met this pony. God damn it. Nay is yes.
No, Melody, you have very fundamentally misunderstood.
Oh, God.
Pony does not have an opinion about any. Pony does not understand. Pony is just sounding board with.
I see.
Yeah, no, Pony is just being Pony fanny pack. And he's waving around his axe hands, being like, what if I do this? And Pony's just doing pony stuff. And he's like, yeah, you're right. That is a
Thank
great
you for confirming my idea.
Yeah. I love your idea of like agreeing and disagreeing, Pony, but also I really love the idea of Pony is just fanny pack. And he's like, you're the only one who agrees with me. Thank you.
Right? Yeah.
You're the only voice of reason.
You're my only healthy ride or die, okay? My little pony knapsack.
I'm so sorry, Melody. Knapsack, this is a fanny pack pony, okay?
I'm so sorry.
Knapsack pony is much bigger, okay? Knapsack pony has to stay home for long rides.
Totally.
Anyway.
Okay, so then Pulio goes to find her, and he is horrified to see that there's like blood on her clothes. And he's like, oh, fuck. That better not be her blood, or like this village is going to get burned to the goddamn ground if we let.
And he's also noticed that she doesn't have shoes on either. And it is so rigid outside. The first thing he notices is her little toes digging into the dirt because they're cold.
Because Rosalind like hurried her out so fast that she didn't get her shoes and she couldn't go back. So she's just been doing all of her chores this morning completely barefooted in the Norwegian winter, which is
in a
bananas.
Shift because he ripped her dress because he's planning on replacing it. But none of them know that. So now she's not only is she being shit on by the lady of the manor, her only piece of decently warm clothing has been shredded by the guy who was supposed to pay her for bedding
and never did.
And never did. And now the lady of the manor saying that she owes 3 times what was bid for her virginity.
Oh my God, we didn't tell listener. I'm so sorry, listener. When she whacks her around earlier, Rosalind says that I already sold your virginity to Tori. And so you need to come up with not only the money to pay Tori back but then you also need to get 3 times that for my fee, my like broker fee.
My brokerage fee.
Yeah. And she's like, there's no way I can get that money. And Rosalind says, well, I guess you'll have to steal it from the king. She's like, oh my God.
She also says, she's like, maybe if you're lucky, before the price comes due for Tori, you can fuck some other guys in the village to make it.
Yeah. She says, if you fuck every guy in the village twice, then you might have enough for Tori. Then you're going to have to figure out for my fee. Oh my God. So yeah, he goes up to her and he's like, my lady, are you injured? And she's like, am thrall. It's okay, my lord. Like, I'm totally cool over here. I don't need any more attention from anybody. It's big bad news when I get attention.
The best thing any of you could possibly do is forget
completely ignore
my
me.
face.
Yep. Completely ignore me, please. That would be great. And he's like, no, my lady. And then she turns around and looks at him and he sees the giant like welt on her face from where Rosalind clocked her earlier. And he's just like, oh my God, you have to tell me who did this to you so that we can offer them up so that it's not the whole village that dies for this.
He's like, Axe Hand McGee over there is about to beat the head in.
Oh
like,
boy.
And his shitty little pony is going to be egging him on the whole time.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? I need you to tell me who.
That pony's going to be prancing around behind him, being like, ooh. Yeah. And so she looks at him, though, and she's like, she thinks to herself, like, they'll protect me but while they're here, but they're going to leave. And once they leave, if I give up the chief's, like, lady, his favorite lady, his wife or whatever, that's death. I'm going to get hard executed for that. So no, I'm not going to tell you who did this to me. And so he picks her up and he carries,
This is such an extreme example of it, but this is such a good example of like any abusive situation. It's not worth asking for help sometimes because like the repercussions of having somebody stand up for you. No, you don't have to do. You really don't have to do that.
Yeah, you're gonna make it worse for me.
Don't worry about it because it's not like it's not gonna be seen as your fault. It's my fault.
Oh, absolutely.
You stood up for me.
Just like she's the one that humiliated her with that idea to draw the bath.
Exactly.
Like, she had no part of that, and yet she's the one being punished.
And so he ends up picking her up and carrying her into the main hall because he doesn't want her walking around on her little frostbitten toes. And when they walk in, Kalai is sitting at the table with all of the hoity-toits and sees her and like leans forward kind of excited to see her, but then he notices her face and she can see him clocking her face and her
lack of shoes,
what she's wearing, and he's like, it's very clear that he is displeased.
What happens is his entire face goes blank. And that is the scariest thing maybe I've ever read. You know what I mean? This guy, axe hands, just going dead-eyed at you. Okay. Like, that's rough.
You know what?
Everybody's in trouble.
That is, I read it as him being displeased. Like, I was putting on it that he was displeased because
for the record,
that's meant.
He is.
But yeah, being an outside person who has not spent half the book in his head so far, he goes shark eye, and you know, I don't want to be. He's
literally about anything could happen.
Like I don't want to be within
like
500.
He could make your intestines garland at any moment. You know what I mean?
Frankly, that's the best option because then you're dead.
Yeah.
You know?
That's where we're going to stop for today. Tomorrow, we'll jump back in as Kalai gets to the bottom of just how badly his woman has been abused and all the creative punishments he comes up with. Heaving Bosoms is produced by us, Melody Carlisle and Sabrina Bradley. Editing is done by me, Melody Carlisle. Our theme music is by the incredible singer-songwriter Brittany Fonts, and our art is by the ultra-talented author Kate Pryor. If you like our show, remember to follow us on your favorite podcast app, rate us 5 stars, and leave a review. That one small action is a huge way to help the show. If you want to get in touch with us for advertising inquiries or anything else, you can email us at heavingbosomspodcast@gmail.com. If you want more of us, visit patreon.com/heavingbosomspodcast. You can also find us on Instagram at Heaving Bosoms, on TikTok at Heaving_Bosoms, and in our Facebook group, the Heaving Bosoms Geriatric Friendship Cult. See you tomorrow.
Love it out loud.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. You chose to hit play on this podcast today. Smart choice. Progressive loves to help people make smart choices. That's why they offer a tool called Auto Quote Explorer that allows you to compare your Progressive car insurance quote with rates from other companies. So you save time on the research and can enjoy savings when you choose the best rate for you. Give it a try after this episode at progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Not available in all states or situations. Prices vary based on how you buy.
4th of July deals are on at Lowe's. Right now, get up to 40% off select major appliances, including the Samsung Bespoke French Door Refrigerator featuring beverage center and dual ice maker. Plus, when you buy more, you save more. Now's the perfect time to upgrade your home with top Samsung appliances and hot 4th of July savings at Lowe's. Valid through 7/9. See Lowe's.com for details. Savings vary based on purchase amount. Selection varies by location.